This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Hey, it's Chris Kirkpatrick, and welcome to the Executive Job Search Secrets Podcast. And today's episode, we're going to be talking about the third part in the three-part series on the psychology of a successful job search, and that is raising necessity for your job search. We all know most executive-level positions are not posted or advertised. So the big question is this. If those 100K plus jobs are not posted or advertised, how do you go about your job search in a way so you can find the right companies, connect with the right people, and land your next ideal opportunity as quickly as possible and without compromise? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answers. My name is Chris Kirkpatrick, and welcome to Executive Job Search Secrets. All right, hello and welcome. This is a really exciting topic for me. I love talking about this because it's actually one of the things that I probably talk about the most with people, because I think there's the biggest misunderstanding about the concept of what this means. Now, if this happens to be the first episode that you've come across, I would encourage you to pause this episode and actually go back 2 episodes ago and get to this Seeking Clarity episode and listen to the episode on Seeking Clarity, and then also listen to the episode on generating energy. Listen to those two episodes first, and then listen to this one, because it's important that you that you understand these components in order. You want to make sure that before you do anything, you are 100% clear on who you are, the value you bring to the marketplace, why you are the best investment opportunity in the marketplace, and how you better actually believe that, because this needs to be an authentic communication. If you do not believe in you, if you don't know and you can't clearly communicate and articulate who you are, what you do, the problems that you solve, the value you bring to the table, how are you going to convince anybody else that they should believe you? It's virtually impossible, and it's one of the problems that I see so many people have. Now, generating energy, that is, you're going to struggle with energy from time to time. That there's no way around it. People, when you enter the job market and you are actively looking and in between work, you're dealing with an emotional and mental trauma. And let's face it, there are swings that come with that mentally, emotionally, energetically, and it's about just trying to, what Brennan Burchard says, I'll just kind of go there, is Brennan Burchard always says the power plant doesn't have energy, it generates it. And so everybody's a little different. And in the last episode, we talked a lot about different tricks and tips on how to generate energy, how to get your mind right, and how to kind of get up for your job search, even when you don't necessarily feel like it. Now, raising necessity is kind of a piggyback on that. And that is this is, I think, the most important one out of all of them, because it's where most people misunderstand, I'm going to say, is where most people get tripped up, because I think going into the job search, most people think it's going to be easier than it is. And they don't realize what goes into a really effective executive job search. What's gotten you here to this point in your time in your career is not going to get you where you want to go if you're looking to advance your career. If you've never, a lot of times I talk to executives who've climbed through the ranks in a company and have been with the same company for 10, 15, 20 years. And then they get out of that, for some reason or another, they're now in the job market. They're not with that company anymore. They haven't had to look for a job for 10 to 20 years. And now for the first time, they're in the job market, and they just, I don't know why, but they know it's going to be work, but they don't understand how much work. There's a lot of really great information out there on job seeking in general, but it's not catered to the executives. And how you find entry-level, mid-level, and even management-level positions is not the same way. The hiring process is different. The thought process is different. The individual that they're looking for is different. You don't rely on ATS systems for your resume. That's not the way it works. Those positions, most of them are not posted or advertised. They're hired through private networks. And so you have to make sure that you are navigating the job search in a completely different way. And you are kind of reverse engineering that process and connecting and targeting specific companies. Because face it, if most of the jobs you're looking for aren't posted or advertised, it's a matter of going out and finding the jobs that are not posted or advertised. So why spend 100% of your time or 90% of your time focused on 10% of the opportunity? It absolutely makes no sense. So when it comes to raising necessity, The reason I think this is so important is because you want to have urgency. You don't want to have desperation. You want to have focus, but you want to have urgency in your search. And so I'm going to talk about some different things when it comes to how to raise necessity, how to plug into keeping the urgency without being desperate, how to connect with people, how to keep your mind right when you're going through this process, because it's not just about a job search. Remember, I'm a big believer that it's not just about finding a job, it's about finding the job. The last thing I want anybody to do is settle on just a job. I want whatever you go to find to be the most fulfilling, ideal scenario that you could imagine. I know it may seem like you probably have to settle, or you don't know how to get there or target the right companies. And that's what this podcast is all about. And that's what we do as an organization, is help people find those connections and target and identify the right opportunities and ultimately connect with them and go through the process of landing the job. But the bottom line is your psychology around this search is so important to stay balanced. You don't want to get too high. You don't want to get too low. You're going to go through a roller coaster ride here. You're going to get told no a lot. You're going to hear yes a little, right? Most people are not prepared for that sales type process, right? I mean, if you're a salesperson, you have an extreme advantage because you're used to the process and you're used to plugging into a process and knowing it's a numbers game and just playing it out. Most people, when they go into their job search, they attach themselves to a couple opportunities and they become emotionally invested in those opportunities. And if those don't work, then they become paralyzed. And when they get maybe one or two leads in the hopper, so to speak, and they get down the line and maybe they've had a couple interviews and they're a finalist for a couple interviews. And what happens is they put all their eggs in one basket. They stop putting the effort into all the other ancillary opportunities, or maybe just networking and building their brand and doing everything they should be doing anyway, even if you have a job, but they stop. And then one of those opportunities doesn't come through that they're interviewing for, and a couple months goes down the road, and now you're starting from scratch. And it's really easy when you understand how those processes work and psychologically what people do to put themselves in those situations. It's really easy to see how people can, think this is going to be a simple process, and then a year later come back and still not have a job and question why that's happening. And when that happens, you start to doubt yourself. You start to lose self-confidence and question whether you belong in the first place. Because if nobody else sees it, you start to question, is it really there? And I want to caution you to not fall into that trap. Now, at the end of the day, I think so many people struggle with their search because the mental, I should say, and emotional strain that goes with it, right? Maybe you're not getting the result that you want. Maybe there's financial stress. Maybe there's a relationship stress. Either way, the bottom line is it weighs on you. Now, my guess is that if you're listening to this, that you're a high performer, that you're somebody who has that internal drive and has that necessity to perform. Not everybody's a performer, but as an executive, my guess is you're somebody that internally, your belief is you have this internal drive that you need to perform, and not performing at a specific level is not an option for you, right? You have a need to provide for your family. You have a need to provide for your company and organization. Maybe it's a legacy play and you want to give back to the world. Whatever it is, you have an internal drive to perform, and that's a big part of what has brought you to where you are. So rather than kind of to succumb and fall to the pressure that comes with being out of work and focusing on rebuilding your career, I want you to focus on the following three things. So I'm going to go through a couple suggestions and topics, and I'm going to talk about some details and kind of breeze over a couple things, and you can read through some of it in my blog if you want. But I find that there are three areas that are directly correlated to your results that you need to focus on to keep your mind and emotional state where it needs to be ultimately in your job search to be effective. So the first one is, Brendan Burchard always says this, and you'll hear me reference Brendan Burchard a lot because I'm a big believer in him. I've gone through his programs and had mentorship with him, and he's had a significant impact in my life and in my mindset and outlook and the way I run my businesses. And one of the things he always says, and a habit that he tries to do, and I would encourage you to do this as well. I try to do it for myself every day as consistently as possible. That is, when you sit your butt in your chair at your desk or wherever you're doing it, at your kitchen table, depending on where you're working, you think to yourself, first and foremost, who needs your A game today? Think about what is it that you're needing to do today? Who needs you to perform at your top level? Because high performers are constantly checking in with themselves about if they're giving it their all and what they can do to improve their process. It's not just about aimlessly navigating the day and going about their tasks and what happens. There's a specific level of intention in trying to improve and follow a process, right? That's one of the reasons that we've created the process that we've done is to help people actually have a track to run on to be effective, right? So in order to reach your A game, you're going to need to consistently stretch yourself and push your comfort zone. That's the reality. Most people are not comfortable with the activities that make a successful job search. So you are going to have to push yourself. Now, in Brennan Burchard's book, he actually talks about this a lot. Now, there's a popular concept in positive psychology called flow. A lot of people have heard this. There's a lot of talk of living in the flow, working in the flow. Now, there's a psychologist. I'm going to totally butcher his name. I'm going to try to do it. You can read it in the blog. But his name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. Okay, so I don't even know what origin that is, but he talks a lot about what it takes to actually be in flow. And I read through these 10 things. There's a list of 10 things that you need to be doing to live in the flow and to work in the flow. And I think it's important because, when it comes to being in the flow, these 10 things, most of them directly correlate to your job search. And I want to talk about it a little bit. So the first one he talks about is you have to have goals that are clear and challenging yet attainable. So I think it's important to understand that you have to, when you set your goals for your job search, obviously the end goal is to get a job. But you also want to make sure that that's not the measurable goal that you're tracking your results by. Because if obviously the result is to get this job, until you have that job, it's a failure, right? And getting the job in and of itself is not the process, right? You have to follow a process and have a system, and you have to have certain tasks that certain activities that you're able to follow and accomplish. Ultimately, the activities lead to the results. So I want to caution you to not just focus on the result, but your goals should be challenging, but they should also be very clear, and they should be focused around activity. That's first and foremost. So number 2, a strong concentration and focused attention are required. When you wake up in the morning, I want you to get the planner, the high performance planner or some sort of planner. I want you to take a half hour, drink your coffee, have your breakfast, do whatever you do, take that time for yourself and be very intentional. Think about the 3 things that you want to accomplish that day. Think about the people that you need to reach out to. Think about the people that are looking to follow up with you, the people that you need to follow up with, and really follow a process systematically. Get the first things done first, the most important things, have it prioritized, and work your list from the top down. And if you get the planner, you'll understand that, but I'll probably make a YouTube video on this too, even though I haven't done that yet, just to help. So be on the look on that on the YouTube channel, because I'll work on that and have that up in a week or two and check that out. So that is number 2. Now, number 3 is you lose self-consciousness a bit and you feel serene. Now, I don't know how relevant this is completely, except for the context that I don't want you to feel stressed. If you're psychologically stressed out, and if you're sitting at your office desk and you're looking at your computer and your hands are on your head and you're pulling your hair out and you're rubbing your eyes a lot and you're questioning what you're doing and you're stressing out about how you're going to do it, you're not going to be effective. There's no serenity there, and you're certainly losing effectiveness. So I'm not saying that I expect you to feel serene, so to speak, but I am saying don't get caught up in the stress of it all. And I would say the antithesis, the opposite of that stress, is serenity. And try to swing your pendulum a little more to the serenity side as much as possible, and get yourself mentally and emotionally there as much as possible. So number 4 is time stops. You feel so focused on the present that you lose track of time. Now, this can be really good or it can be really bad. If you're in the flow and if you're working and being effective and productive, it's awesome when that happens. But it can also happen that you just go down this rabbit hole and waste a bunch of time and waste a bunch of energy doing things that are not effective and not productive. So I would say it's awesome when you're there, but don't misinterpret that. Number 5, the thing you are doing is intrinsically rewarding, right? So obviously you getting a job is going to be rewarding. There's not much more important to you except for your faith and your family probably that are more important to you than actually landing this job. There's not much else that's going to have a greater impact in your life than landing this ideal position. So it's going to be rewarding. And you know what? The bottom line is you should have fun with that, right? If it's rewarding, it's going to be fun. You're going to be in the flow. You're going to have, your energy should reflect that, right? So number 6, you're getting immediate feedback on your performance. You should be able to do activities and have your actionable results and tasks. They should be producing immediate feedback for you. You should be able to reach out to people, and there should be no ambiguity about, is this working or is it not? Once you get a sample set of 20 or 30 outreaches to people using a system, you should know if it's working or if it's not. If people are not responding to you, the only variable in the equation in those conversations is you. And you need to be accountable to that. You need to make sure that you are not, looking at it from the lens of it's somebody else. After 20 to 30 outreaches, if you're not getting the response you want, it's almost always you at that point in time. And, that's not a bad thing. I'm a big believer in failing fast. You want to make sure that you want to get your message down. That's why you never start by reaching out to your top candidates, your top targets of organizations and people that you want to talk to, because this is all about getting your story down, right? So we want to work through that and get the feedback on your performance as quickly as possible so you can build out your story, see what's resonating with people, and build out from there. Number 7 is there's a balance between your skill level and the challenge presented. You know that what you're doing is doable even if it's difficult. So once again, just because you're amazing at what you do doesn't mean you're amazing at finding a job at what you do. There are going to be elements and skills to this, because make no mistake about it, finding a job is a skill. All the traits that you need to be good at to be a successful job seeker, so to speak, they're skills. And you're probably not amazing at all of them. And I'm a big believer in the phrase, as you know, probably if you've been listening to this podcast, if it's worth doing, it's worth doing poorly until you're good at it. And nothing could be further from the truth, or nothing could be more true, I should say, about that. Because the bottom line is you're going to come in, you're going to learn things, you're going to push yourself, you're going to lean on your comfort zone walls, you're going to push those walls out, you're going to be uncomfortable in the process, but you're going to do it anyway. That's what I'm praying for you that you're going to do, is that you're going to just do it anyway, and you're going to sit in the discomfort, and you're going to lean into it, and you're going to do it anyway, and you're going to become better at it. You're going to suck at it at first. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fun, but you're going to do it and you're going to fail. You're going to do it and you're going to fail. You're going to do it. You're going to get a little better, a little better, and a little better. Before you know it, 20, 30 conversations down the road, you're going to question why you were even worried about it or nervous about it in the first place. So that's not the case for everybody, in the sense that not everybody's going to be nervous about networking and reaching out to people and connecting with people on LinkedIn and making phone calls and all this stuff. But I deal with a lot of people that's a big challenge for them. So that's a big thing I wanted to cover. Number 8, you have a sense of personal control over the situation. I think it's important to understand that you need to own your job search. There is opportunity for you if you can show that you're an amazing investment in the marketplace. There's always opportunity. It doesn't matter the economy. It doesn't matter the market, the environment. It doesn't matter. Heck, we even have a lot of companies that create jobs for clients because of the fact that if you can articulate your value and show that you're a great investment opportunity, and a company will have a return on investment on you as an asset in the marketplace, there's opportunity, right? So don't even worry about if the company's hiring or not. Worry about if they're the right fit for you and if you can add value, and then you create a marketing campaign to them. And that's a whole different conversation on how to do that. But that's a huge part is psychologically just understanding that you are in control. The results are on you, on your shoulders, and you have to have that mindset. You have to make the decision to make it work, and then you have to go make it work. And you're the only variable in the equation once again. So that's a big thing. Number 9, you stop thinking about your physical needs. Now, obviously, we have bills to pay, food to put on the table, mortgages. We want to take care of our families. We have physical needs, but the bottom line is worrying about those every moment of every day and thinking about those while you're in the middle of your activities are not going to serve you, right? So I was reading this thing recently, and it was talking about all the most successful people, the Steve Jobses, the Bill Gates, the Richard Bransons, those people, right? And it's interesting. They all had different skill sets. They all had different backgrounds and technical expertise. And, but they did a survey. It was like of 5, 6, 7 people, I think. I don't remember the exact numbers of it, but they basically did an interview with all of them, and they broke down and they analyzed it, and they realized that the one thing that they all had in common, the one thing was that they didn't allow their negative circumstances to impact them to make emotional decisions. They were able to stay clear and make logical decisions in emotionally distressed times. And so I would say that plays into number 9, is not letting the emotion and of the physical needs and the stresses and all the things that come at you when you're going through this to have a negative impact on the logical things that you need to do and the processes you need to follow, right? To be successful. So I think that's a big one. Number 10, you have the ability to focus completely on the activity at hand. So I think it's important when you're doing this to make sure you handle this like a business. You handle your job search like you would a business. You take a step back, you create a plan, and then you execute that plan. Because if you're doing this without a business plan, you're doing it wrong and you're going to struggle. And when you create that business plan and when you execute that plan, I think it's important to have complete focus on it. Make sure you have an office at home. Make sure you have a place and a time where you are dialed in, not distracted. You don't have the husband or wife, you don't have kids around you, that you're able to really focus in on what you need to do and spend a concentrated amount of time out of every single day with a process focusing on your job search. So that is thinking about who needs your A game and staying on top of it all. So the second thing I think you need to think about is your why. What is your why? I talk a lot about your why and the importance of having a passion statement. And I think, if you're like me or most people, you probably have multiple whys, right? You probably have a personal why, you have a professional why, and probably different layers to each, right? Because we're all complex beings. But I think whatever yours is, I think it's important to A, write it down, and then B, not just have a why, but affirm that why. And so the reason I say that is because if you look at most high performers in the world, they understand that while most people understand we all have our whys, most people don't affirm their whys. High performers actually do. And it's interesting because this isn't my opinion. This is psychology. When you are able to connect with your why, when you share your why, when you share it with your family, when you share, with your business colleagues, when you just speak it out loud in the shower, if you are like me and you spend a lot of time alone in the car, I spend a lot of time praying and just talking to God and doing my thing. And, and I realize that's not for everybody, but maybe just talk to yourself, maybe just say it out loud, because when those words come out of your mouth, they're real. And there's something that it does to trigger your brain to make it real. So I don't know what your why is. Maybe it's your family. Maybe it's the impact that you want to make. Maybe it's the personal and professional goals that you want to achieve. But remember, it's not enough to just have them and to think about them. You need to get them out and be vocal with them. And, the other thing I would say to that is that when you tell somebody else, there's also a certain level of external accountability that comes with that. And I don't care who you are, we all need that on some level. When you put it out there into the universe, it comes back at you, right? And you basically you give permission to people to hold you accountable. Now, obviously, you need to trust the people, and I think that's important with mentorship. And I think, that's a great transition point for me here to talk about the third thing of raising necessity is surrounding yourself with amazing people. Because when, Amy Poehler says, find a group of people who challenge and inspire you, spend a lot of time with them, and it will change your life. Now, I can tell you that this is absolutely true. When I'm hired to help somebody with their job search, one of the easiest and quickest ways to get fast success in their job search in helping them is by helping them connect effectively and tap into their social support network. That can be professional, personal, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is the hardest part about relationships is starting the relationship. Once you have your foot in the door, once you have established some sort of rapport with somebody, taking the relationship to the next level is easier than starting the relationship, to getting your foot in the door and starting the conversation. So naturally, it's more effective to start with your own network, right? And surrounding yourself, I think it's important to make sure that, in all of our networks, we have people that are above us and we have people that are below us on the success scale, right? Now, I think the natural tendency is to want to guard ourselves and to only speak to the people that are kind of our level or lower. But it's important to do this and do it in a way where you're comfortable going to the people who are equal your level or above, because those are the people that are going to be willing to help you. Now, there's no more powerful word in the English language than help. I don't understand why so many people have such a hard time asking for help. There's nothing wrong with asking for help if you do it in the right way, as long as people understand where you're coming from, that you have a heart of service, and it's not a self-serving, selfish ask. There are ways to go about doing this, and I have all sorts of different trainings and tips and tricks on this that we go through, but that I do not have time to get into for this episode. But I just don't understand why people struggle. Maybe you just don't understand what to say. You don't know what to say. Maybe you're used to being the person that people go to for help in the first place, and it's a challenge for you to become vulnerable. Either way, it doesn't need to be complicated. And the reality is, like I said, nothing is more fulfilling to a person than them to be able to help you. So what I would say to you is give them the opportunity to be fulfilled. They want to help. You're going to help them feel good. And Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now, raising necessity, I think when you're in your job search, it's really easy to become a hermit. It's really easy to get lost. It's really easy to kind of want to hole up, do your thing, become depressed, all these things that happen. And I get it. It happens. To keep your mindset right, you want to make sure you get out there, you socialize, you connect with your friends, you connect with your professional colleagues, and surround yourself with the most successful people that you know. If you do so, and you just get yourself into that space, I promise you, just doing that is going to have a positive impact in your job search. I know it kind of seems weird, but use this opportunity to connect with the amazing friends and colleagues that you have. Go out, volunteer, give back, go out and exercise, work out, get into sports leagues, softball leagues, basketball leagues, soccer leagues, whatever it is for you that you enjoy, go out there and be active. Seek mentorship. People that, you've worked with that you trust, have them, come into your life, ask them for mentorship, allow them to help hold you accountable and get where you want. And most importantly, go out there and do something every single day, every single week, whatever it is for you, but do it intentionally where you feel like you're earning it, right? That's going to keep your mind sharp. That's going to keep you where you need to be. And it's going to keep you engaged. And it's going to help keep you from losing that confidence, feeling like you don't belong and all that stuff. Because I will tell you this, no matter what you do, there's a chance that your job search is going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe even more months, right? So you want to make sure that you're doing everything to keep yourself sharp, because otherwise this process can be very stale. It can get very old. It can get very frustrating. And you want to make sure that you insulate yourself from that happening to you. And remember, the job you're looking for, like I said before, is not likely, I should say, to be posted or advertised. It's going to be filled through a private contact somehow. Think about it. The first thing a hiring decision maker thinks when they open a position up is, who do I know that I think would be a good fit for this position? The next thing they think is, who do I know that knows somebody? We hire through private networks. You have done it in the past. I pretty much guarantee it. So why would the process be any different? So play into that human nature component of this, right? So that doesn't mean it's going to be somebody that you know right now that you're going to get the job through. Maybe it's going to be a second or third degree connection, if you think about it in terms of how LinkedIn is structured. But it could be somebody that you meet at the gym or in a softball or basketball league or a soccer league or something like that. Either way, just don't hold yourself up in the office like I was talking about, researching, submitting the job posts and thinking everything's going to work out, trying to connect with recruiters and all that stuff, because it's not going to work. So get out there into the world, reconnect with people, with professional contacts, and don't be afraid to ask for help the right way. Don't be afraid to ask for value. Go out and serve. Speak with clarity. And make sure that when you get to a point when they're willing to help, that you're ready to give a clear, targeted call to action on how they can help you and serve you best, because they are dying to go out there and help you if you ask the right way. So those are the three things that I would say to focus on to raise necessity is, first, who needs your A game today? Second, affirm your why. And third, surround yourself with amazing people. And if you do those three things, it's going to keep your mindset in a place where you're going to stay sharp, you're going to stay hungry, you're going to surround yourself with people that are going to do nothing but lift you up. And when I say lift you up, that's talking psychologically, it's talking emotionally, heck, it's even talking about potentially having the ability to connect you with your next opportunity. So until next time, go out there and crush it today, and I'll talk to you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening. As a token of my gratitude, I want to give you free access to my Executive Job Search Secrets Masterclass that'll walk you through the 5 steps we use with every single one of our clients to help them find their ideal job in the shortest time possible. If you look below, the link to the masterclass and your free access will be listed in the description of this podcast episode. I hope it makes a huge impact in your job search. Go out there and crush it. I'll see you on the next podcast.
Like what you just heard? Visit c-suiteradio.com. C-Suite Radio, turning the volume up on business.